So when it comes to speed and accuracy, upgrading your trigger is one of the most important things you can do. This is the P.S.A match grade 3.5-pound trigger. And for the money, this thing is money. Welcome back to Sawtooth Tactical. We've got another great video for you guys today. Today's video, if you couldn't tell from the intro, is about the Palmetto State Armory 3.5-pound match grade drop-in trigger. And if you can't tell from some of my previous videos, I am a big fan of Palmetto State Armory. I know a lot of people think of them as a budget brand, and to an extent they are, because they offer great products at a very reasonable price point. And you just gotta know which kind of products to get from them. And everything that I've gotten has been fantastic, including this AR pistol here, and including this trigger that I have installed in a different rifle of mine. But before we get started, I do want to thank every one of you that is subscribed to the channel. I really appreciate it. Everyone that likes, comments, shares these videos. My Patreon supporters and those of you that have used my Amazon affiliate links, you guys are what are keeping this channel going, and I can't express my gratitude enough. So it's an extremely short, crisp break, short reset, and a light trigger pull. Double taps are very easy with a trigger like this. So this is my Smith & Wesson M&P 15 Sport 2. Heavily upgraded, as we've gone over in previous videos. When I got it, it came, I mean, it looked nothing like this, but it came with your standard mil-spec trigger, which, you know, your trigger shoe, hammer, and disconnector. And it wasn't a bad trigger by any means. It was a standard mil-spec trigger. It was a little bit heavy, but it didn't have a whole lot of take-up or grit. They had a fairly short reset. It was by no means a bad trigger, but it was a mil-spec trigger. And I have become a bit of a trigger snob. If you've seen from some of my previous videos, you know, I've got an Apex Flatty in my M&P 9 there, M&P 2.0. And I had done a lot of upgrades to this rifle before I decided on upgrading the trigger, and I should have done it sooner. I have had this trigger in here for quite a while now, and finally got around to doing a review video on it. Because it is that important to me as far as, you know, AR-15 upgrades. A trigger is a bigger deal than I think a lot of people realize. When it comes to accuracy, and especially accuracy at speed, having a good trigger in your rifle or your AR pistol makes a huge, huge difference. And I didn't really realize that until I started changing out triggers and things. But this was actually the first one that I did, and no, it wasn't actually, but either way. So there are a ton of different triggers on the market. You can spend, you know, a couple $100 on something like a Geisley. You can get a LaRue for less than that. You can get lots of different drop-in triggers. CMC makes some great ones, Rise Armament. But you can almost fairly consistently, if you pay attention, you can find these Palmetto State Armory triggers for around $99 when they're on sale. I got mine for a little more than that because I didn't wait for a sale, but it wasn't much more. It was like $120, $119 I think. And for that price, it is a really, really fantastic trigger. It is meant to be a, you know, competition style drop-in trigger. And when I say drop-in, it is extremely easy to install, and I will go over that here in just a minute. But it is as a 7075 T6 aluminum housing. Yeah, they say it's 3.5 pounds, but I don't have a trigger pull gauge. But from everything I've seen, it breaks closer to, you know, the high 2s to maybe 3 pounds. It is a very light trigger, but it's got a very defined wall, and it is very predictable. Let's just look at it here. So you can see see if I can get through so you can see it really easy. The flat bow design, I think it's a really good looking trigger. It is a flat face, which I love a flat face trigger. And it's got a little hook at the end for an indexing point so that your finger ends up in the same spot every time. The lower your finger indexes on that trigger shoe, the lighter the pull is going to be. Let's put this thing in fire, make sure it's empty. It is. We pull the mag out of it, and let me just show you the brake on this thing. So there's absolutely no take up, no grit. It's a single stage trigger, and it is literally right at the wall. Brakes like glass. Extremely short, crisp, light brake, but it's obvious. You're not gonna fire off rounds on accident by any means. Bolt cycles, here's your reset. Again, extremely short brake or reset, very positive, tactile, audible, all the things that you want in a trigger reset, and it resets exactly back to the wall so that it'll break again. So just show you that one more time. Reset, break. Zero travel, zero creep, zero grit. It's I've used a lot of really nice triggers at this point, and for the price, this one can't be beat. Let's go up close. I'm gonna show you what it looks like installed, and just tell you what I think about it. So this is a drop-in trigger, and you can see it in here. You can kind of see the housing in there. Kind of comes around the front. That's the 7075 T6 aluminum. So unlike your standard mil-spec trigger or a Geisley or something where you have the different components and springs you got to install and then push your pins through, this one is very simple. After you take out your old trigger components, you basically drop this one in. Obviously it's dirty. I've been out shooting it today, even though I cleaned it last night. But all the springs, all the components are already included in that housing. So it's a one-piece drop-in design. And then as far as for your trigger pins, see, this doesn't have a screw that needs to go down to seat it in your lower or anything. It has anti-walk pins, and they're an interesting design. So you basically just have these set screws that go in on either side into your trigger pin and your hammer pin there that hold it in place so that they don't walk. And they work great, and you don't end up with big anti-walk pins on your lower, which is kind of nice. I actually really like this design. Again, like I said, extremely easy to install. You just drop it in, put these screws in your anti-walk pins there, and you're good to go. And as you can see here, as far as the brake, it's extremely short. Reset, short, audible, tactile. It's exactly what you want in a trigger. This thing does great, and for less than $100, you really can't go wrong. It's a single stage trigger. So the difference between that, a two-stage trigger is going to have, some take-up in it before, there's going to be two walls basically, and the second wall is where it's going to break. And those are great for precision, long-range shooting, things like that. I prefer single-stage triggers, which is what this is. And just because I really like that it is literally right at the wall. Breaks like glass. Reset. It's just a fantastic trigger. Super easy to install. You cannot go wrong with this trigger. As far as what comes with it, you get the packaging. The trigger is in here in a piece of foam. Tells you about it on the back. And, basically everything I've just said. This is the same kinds of things there. It does come with your, all the little wrenches and things you need. You got a couple of these. You're going to need two because you got to put one on each side of these anti-walk pins so that you can tighten them together. It just has everything you need. It's the simplest thing you'll ever install in your AR. There's the brake. Again, reset, brake. This trigger just makes shooting so much easier. You can be extremely accurate, extremely fast with it. Honestly, it might be the best upgrade I have on this rifle. There's almost nothing that helps your accuracy quite like a good trigger. So, why get a drop-in trigger? Why trade out your mil-spec trigger for an upgrade? You know, for that extra $100, $200, depending what you want to get spent on a trigger. The reason is for accuracy, and accuracy at speed. When your trigger brake is so light and short, you have less of an opportunity to pull your gun off of target coming through that trigger pull. And so, as long as your sights are aligned on target and you pull directly to the rear, which when it's this short and crisp is very easy to do, you're gonna hit your target. And that is very important because a rifle or any gun that is not accurate is not worth much in my opinion. So you can take even a relatively inexpensive gun like this M&P and make it shoot like a much more expensive gun by trading out the trigger, among other things. But the trigger is very important. And if you don't want to spend a whole ton of money, Palmetto State Armory is a great way to go for a lot of products, not just this trigger, but many things. I plan on getting more of their products in the future. I really like their dagger line. I like their different line of AR9s. I'm looking at some of those. I have one of their ARs. They make really good products at a great price point. And a big thing of theirs is, common usage. Getting guns like AKs and ARs and things into as many people's hands as possible, because when something is in common use, then there's much less of a likelihood that it'll be able to be regulated or even banned. As we're looking at right now, they're trying to ban all kinds of things, but you can't ban something that everyone has. And so I really appreciate a company like Palmetto State Armory that puts out quality products at a price point where working class Americans like myself, and I'm sure like some of you, can get into them. A lot of people don't have thousands of dollars to spend on an AR-15, but you can get into a base model P.S.A for like $600, upgrade it as you have the money, and turn it into something that's fantastic, like I've done. This, again, it's a Smith & Wesson, but I did the same thing, and one of the components I used, obviously, was this P.S.A trigger, and I am extremely impressed with it. I've used a lot of triggers, and this trigger is fantastic. And for $100, you really can't go wrong. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I really love this trigger. I know most of my reviews are fairly positive, and the reason being is that I don't want to review things that I don't like. If I try a product and I like it, then I want to make a video about it. And I think that this trigger is a great value. It's a really good trigger. It was, an extremely important upgrade to this rifle. It really took it to the next level, and I recommend it for sure. Please subscribe to the channel. Please like, share, drop me a comment. Tell me what triggers you guys are running. Tell me if you have experience with this trigger. I would love to know. I've got an Amazon affiliate account down below. Please click on that. Anything you buy within the next 24 hours gives the channel a kickback as long as you've clicked on that link. I've also got a link to the Patreon down below. I would really appreciate anybody signing up for that. As much as you can afford each month, whether it's $1, $5, anything, really will help the channel grow. Helps me to afford new firearms, ammunition, gas to get to the range, all the things that it takes to make these videos possible, and it is extremely appreciated. It's from Sawtooth Tactical. Stay strapped or get clapped.